What's up, everybody?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Relationship.
Another episode of Inside the Relationship. We are here, and if you are seeing us and this is Thursday, you know that it's time for Inside the Relationship. And I'm grabbing my phone,
And I'm
and
grabbing my
and the
phone.
reason why we're doing that is because we're about to do something that we are asking you to do, which
Mhm.
is to share. Hit the
Share.
share button wherever you see this. If you see this playing right now, whether it is streaming live or whether it is the replay that you are watching, if you would simply just hit the share button so that we can get other people into this conversation now, because we just like company,
We do.
and your input is valuable and is a integral part of this experience. And so we're sharing, and we want you to share as well. All right. So that's what we're doing. We have man, we got a
Phenomenal.
phenomenal guest.
Yep. Say it. Phenomenal.
And I was trying to think of a different word because I say phenomenal. We've been blessed to have great guests whenever we have guests, and this is no different. We are reconnecting with a wonderful, wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful individual,
Been too long.
and she opted to actually hang out with us for the entire show.
Yay.
So that's good. So we'll be introducing her in just a moment. So here's what you need to do, because this guest has some great information and some gems to drop and some things that you definitely want to put in your arsenal as it relates to having a healthy, thriving relationship. So
Indeed.
get your note taking device, whatever that is, whether it is digital or whether it is pen and paper, and buckle your seatbelts and get ready for another episode of
Inside
Inside the
the
Relationship.
relationship.
Let's go.
Let's go.
You're watching Inside the Relationship with Denise and Ollie.
So sit back, relax, and let's talk about all things relationships. Hey, it's Thursday.
It's Thursday. Here we are.
So it is time for another episode of Inside the Relationship. If you didn't catch what we said before the intro ran, hit the share button.
Mhm.
Wherever you're watching this right now, hit the share button so we can get some more individuals in here. Got a great show today. If you have missed any other shows, if this is your first time seeing our faces, welcome.
Welcome.
I'm Oliver,
And I'm Denise.
and we are passionate about seeing relationships thrive. And this show is all about relationships. It is a segmented show. So we do 4 segments. We do a media mix down segment. We do a question of the week segment. And we do a marriage minute segment, which today we have a wonderful guest. Monica Tanner is going to be joining us momentarily, hanging out for the whole show, but specifically for the marriage minute. And then we end off with a last word.
Last word.
Now, I want Monica to introduce herself, but what can I say? What can we say about Monica before we bring her on?
Oh,
Before we get into
there's
this
just so
first
much.
segment.
She's just such a sweet soul, and she has as we do, a passion for relationships, and just making sure that they thrive. She just, I love her passion for relationships, specifically
Mhm.
marriages, and
She has a great podcast.
a
I mean, it is an
phenomenal
incredible podcast. We'll hear more about that. I believe there's a book as well.
Yes.
We want to hear about that as well.
Yep.
She is an expert
Mhm.
as it relates to helping people rewrite their love story,
Mhm.
as it relates to getting people from stuck and disconnected to deeply seen, safe, and passionately in love again. Who don't want to be passionately in love again? I do. So, and if you saw the title of this show, the title of this show is Happily Ever After Possible?
Is it possible?
And Monica's going to help us with that. So Monica's going to join us before we even get started on this show. So that was just a short introduction. We'll have Monica during the marriage minute tell a little bit more about herself. But without further ado, joining us for the entire show is the one and only Monica Tanner.
Yay. Yay.
Hey, Monica.
What's up,
Hey
Monica?
guys. Oh, I
Thank
love the sound effects. That was awesome.
That is awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking out some time to hang out with us for this show. We're gonna want your expert opinion on all of these segments.
Yeah.
We got an interesting question of the week, but we're gonna start it off first with the media mixdown, and I'm gonna play a video for the media mixdown, and we'll just all just chop it up about this video. All right,
Okay.
so let's get into the media mixdown right now.
All right.
All right, so for the media mixdown, we have this video that we're going to play. I'm not even gonna tee it up in terms of talking about what it's about. I'm just gonna play it, and let's see what you think. All right, let me make sure I got some volume here. All right, here we go.
You will raise dysfunctional children if you put them in the second position.
Mm.
They will be dysfunctional. They will have dysfunctional marriages.
Wow.
If they are more important than your spouse and you treat them that way, you're not actually helping them at all. You're handicapping their future and their children because you're modeling the wrong thing.
Amen. What I have seen, Doc, and I know you've seen this tons more than I have, is most people in marriage who place their children ahead of their spouse, it's because they can't control their spouse, but they can control their children. And that's idolatry. And an idol is never satisfied.
Or they're trying to make their children the spouse they never had.
Yeah. And that's when you get into emotional enmeshment, where you end up parenting your parents.
Yeah.
Which has a whole host of issues.
Well,
All right, let's where did we go? Why did we disappear?
I don't know, but I don't know if dysfunction is the word I would use. I understand what he was trying to say, but dysfunctional, I don't know if that is the word I would use. I'll just keep talking till
Go ahead.
till we get it together. But obviously, we agree and believe that your marriage, your spouse should come first,
Mhm.
and then your children benefit from that.
Okay.
But I don't know if your children would become maybe they would be dysfunctional, but I don't know about that word. If it were reversed, if you put your children first. I understand what he was trying to say though,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
What do you
about
think, Monica?
dysfunctional.
I think dysfunctional is probably a good word to use. I think you create a whole host of problems when your children come before your marriage.
Mhm.
And I think couples do it sometimes accidentally, like they don't even mean to, like they know the principle that your marriage should come first.
Yeah.
But I know especially a lot of moms that I see will say like, well, but my kids can't do anything for themselves. Like, they can't make their own food. They can't take themselves places. They need me. Whereas my spouse is, can do all the things on their own. If they need to go to the gym, they can drive themselves, or a sandwich or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But I do think you really create a big problem when you don't, I think, ostentatiously show your children that your spouse is more important than they are.
Right. I agree. And I think too, to add to that there in your marital life journey experience, there may be times and situations and scenarios where you might have to pay a little bit more attention to your children, even if it's not because they're young.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's an illness or, something like that is going on, then in that situation, then you would have to understand that your child might need a little bit more attention than what's typical or what should be. But it shouldn't be the norm, and it shouldn't be that out the gate. It just shouldn't be that.
And I don't feel like that level of responsibility is necessarily putting them first. It's just being responsible. Now there has to be some balance, I think, as it relates to that. But we've heard people say what I'm about to say. My kids come first.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like we have heard people say that out of their mouth.
Right.
Right. And when you have that level of attitude towards your relationship, then you are putting, I believe you're putting it in jeopardy. And you're showing your kids a hierarchy that will not work for them long term.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
agree.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
What do you think about the piece where the other gentleman said about emotional
Enmeshment.
enmeshment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I actually think that's a form of trauma, is when you are more kind of emotionally enmeshed is a great word, or connected to your children than you are to your spouse. Like I know tons of families where they're so like I'm not like blaming mothers or anything like that. It's just that what I see the most is you have like a mom who's really close with her daughters or something, and she's like, but I can tell her anything, and I'm probably going to move to college with her, and like we're so close, which is great. But like, do you have that level of intimacy with your partner? Or the same with like like a son relationship as well. It's like, you understand me better than your father. Is some of the most dangerous words that you can say. And so when you put your kids before your spouse, it is a type of abuse, because later it's like you're stunting their growth, because they don't feel like they can go on and go out and fly into the world, right? Because they're like, oh, but what about my parents who depend on me, and they won't be happy when I'm not here, and I have to, sometimes they feel like I have to accomplish so much, or else they're not going to be happy, or there's so many ways that we can really stunt our children's growth by putting them before the marriage.
Yeah.
I feel like too, what you just described is also setting up your mate to be disrespected and diminished as it relates to their impact on the household, right? So if you understand me way more than your father, now I ain't really don't need to pay attention to him, because his level of importance is not the same. So there's some dangers there. So what about this before we go to the next segment? The other gentleman said that, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know if he said it exactly like this, but he said that I just lost my train of thought. He said something I really wanted to kind of get you all's opinion on. It was that your spouse, when you put your children before your spouse, that maybe I should just play it, because I don't remember exactly what he said. So let me play what he said.
I know you've seen this tons more than I have, is most people in marriage who place their children,
They can't control their spouse. That's what it was. So most people who put their children ahead of their spouse is because they can't control their spouse. Control their children. I thought that was interesting. What do you think about that?
I could see how that could be. I can see how that could be the case. Yeah.
So looking to fill some level of void as it relates to connection and camaraderie and teamwork that I can't get with this person, or the other side of the coin, the unhealthy side of the coin, I just can't get my way.
Right. Right. And I do think a lot of times that type of power imbalance happens because people think of, once I become a parent, that's permanent. That's always going to be my child. But my marriage, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Right. And so I think sometimes that power imbalance happens when you're thinking like that as well.
Yeah, I could.
That's interesting. So those of you who are watching now, it's quiet in the comments. Those of you who are watching now or watching the replay, we would love to get your feedback on it. Again, if you missed the video, there are two gentlemen talking about the dangers of putting your children ahead of your spouse. One gentleman talked about it creating some level of dysfunction in your kids. Another gentleman talked about the controlling piece, and being able to control your kids as opposed to controlling your spouse, which is a form of idolatry, which leads to some level of enmeshment. So we would love to get your thoughts on putting your children ahead of your spouse.
I just thought of something based on that.
Mhm.
I remember, I'm just thinking about the whole blended family thing.
Mhm.
Like for us, even, for example, I know it was a really thin line for me
Mm.
when we first got married, like with the girls, when you wanted to discipline them or just have input, period. I
Mhm.
kind of felt some kind of way, like,
Mhm.
these are my children. What are you talking about? These my kids, these my
Mhm.
girls. They've been with me and me alone for 11 years, and now here you come.
Mhm.
But I had to quickly reel that thought back in and be like, no, that is not going to work. There
Mhm.
will be some dysfunctional girls if it was to go that way. And I
Mhm.
remember having that switch of thought, and they would come and ask me something, and I would be like, I don't know, go ask your dad.
Mhm.
And I had to make them see that it wasn't only me
Mhm.
that had the authority now. It was the two of us. And so I
Yeah.
think that when I started to say stuff like, let me talk it over with your dad first, or go ask your dad, that made them be like, okay, you
Mhm.
know, we are all
He's part
one.
of the fabric, right?
He's part of this fabric now,
Mhm.
and it's not just my mom. And so
Yeah.
all the three of us, all four of us, had to have that switch, that mind switch. Otherwise, he would have been talking about me,
Yeah.
making the girls dysfunctional. I just thought of that. So blended families,
Yeah.
they have to think about that.
You got to think about that. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think there is, and I come from a blended family as well. So I think there's definitely a layer of complexity that you add when you're talking about second marriages and blended
Yep.
families.
Yep.
And I think what makes that work is communication. There has
Yes.
to be very clear communication, like what are going to be our roles in parenting each other's children, and
Right.
just to make sure that you're on the same page there, because it can look very different in different families, but
Yes.
the husband and the wife need to be on the same
Same
page.
page. Yep.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Now, since you mentioned communication, which is a key,
Mhm.
if you missed the episode of Inside the Relationship entitled, Are You Speaking to the King or the Fool? You got to go back and see that. That is, my wife and I were just talking this over a couple days ago. I'm almost tempted to pull this off of YouTube because it is literally a communication workshop.
Yeah, it is.
That is a good episode. So you might want to go catch that, because at some point I may pull it and put it behind a subscription wall because it's that good of an episode.
It is good.
So go back and catch that, especially you saying, talking about communication just made me think about that. That is a great episode to check out, especially for those of you who are, this is your first time to the show. All right. So that was the media mix down. Again, feel free to put your comments in on what your 2 cents are. If you have something in social media that you run across and you're like, man, we would love to hear what Oliver and Denise have to say about it, you can DM us wherever you're watching this now, or you can shoot an email to the email that is on your screen.
Yep,
all right,
chop it up.
and we will chop it up about that. All right, let's get into the next one. This is an interesting question, I think. I'm glad Monica's with us. I want to get her input on this as well. All right, let's get into the question of the week.
Here's the question of the week. If I feel like my spouse is more of a roommate than a partner, is that a sign we should separate? No, that's a sign that you need to have a conversation as to why you feel that way, and how did you get there? Have the conversation and let your spouse know, I kind of feel like we're roommates. We're not connecting like we should. You know, how did you get there? What changed? Or was it always that way and now you're feeling like, this is not right? Have the conversation. I don't feel like it's necessarily a sign that you should separate, though.
Yeah, I would say, just off the face value of the question, the shotgun answer is no. It's not a sign you should separate, but there are some things that you need to address.
Yeah.
There are some connection things that have gone by the wayside. There are some bids for connection that have been ignored. There are some things that have to be discussed and talked about, and I think there has to be some level of honesty, and some level of forgiveness. And then we got to create a game plan so that we don't continue to feel like this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think, Monica?
It's so interesting because I deal with this question, I feel like all day long, every day. And when you read it, it made me think of this analogy that when a light bulb burns out, do you change the light bulb or do you move houses? Like right?
Exactly.
So it's like, let's deal with
Yeah.
with the problem
Right.
versus scrap the whole thing and start over, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so a lot of times it's just a light bulb, and you could refer to it as a spark or the romance or
Yeah.
whatever, the intimacy or whatever is the light bulb. Like, so most marriages, almost every marriage in the course of a busy life together, when you're
Yeah.
talking about paying the mortgage and raising the kids and, creating your careers or your business or whatever it is you're doing, you're going to go through periods where you're just, passing like ships
Connection's
in the
not
night.
there.
You feel
Yeah.
like roommates. You have two different roles and you just take care of your roles and that's about it, right? And your communication is very transactional.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to that realization, you can either change the light bulb or you can look for a new house. Like it's just it's not usually very difficult because at some point that spark was there. And so it's just about getting back to the foundation of your friendship, your relationship, actually making intentional time to spend together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
agree.
good.
And if
Yeah.
you do choose the other route where you decide, I'm just going to get another house, the light bulb's going to go out at that house as well.
Eventually,
It was
right?
never addressed.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
eventually the same thing is going to
That's
happen.
a good point.
Good point.
The stuff that you will have to do in order to resolve this scenario, you're going to have to
still gonna
do
have
even
to
if
do
you
it.
go another route.
Yeah.
So why not have a conversation, get with somebody like Monica who can
So
help you.
interestingly enough, this applies to the first segment and the second segment, but I talk about the ways to keep the fire burning.
Mhm.
And really it's about spending 3% of your time. So you can prioritize your partner over your kids and deal with this kind of roommate syndrome by spending just 3% of your time together. So I can go through this quickly. The math is very simple on it. Time is the great equalizer. We all get the same amount of time. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how nice a car you drive, how much you can bench press, how many friends you have.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We all get the same amount of time. It's what you do with that time. And so I talk about how important it is to spend 20 minutes a day together. So there's 1,440 minutes in every single day. Everyone gets the same amount of minutes. So if you'll commit to spending 20 minutes a day, like developing your emotional intimacy with each other, asking each other what excites you, what you're stressed about, how you can make each other's life easier, what you're reading about, learning about, who you enjoy talking to, like those types of things for 20 minutes a day. And then there's 168 hours in a week. If you'll spend 3 of those hours together on date night, doing something fun, it doesn't have to be expensive, elaborate, or far from home, just fun, like enjoying each other's company. And then if you'll take one weekend out of the 52 weekends in every year, and you'll take some sort of vacation, again, doesn't have to be expensive or far from home. Like you can send the kids to your parents' house and just enjoy a weekend together. But you will prioritize that time. It's 3% of your time.
3%.
I love it.
Yes.
So
That you're showing your kids that your marriage is the priority.
Is a
And then
priority.
you're also avoiding this roommate syndrome.
I love
So
that.
for those of you who are watching, that gem
my
alone
goodness.
is worth this episode.
I love
We
that
could run
so
the credits
much.
right now, tell you how to get to Monica, and we could be done. That is worth its weight in gold for this entire
That
episode.
was great.
3%.
3%.
3%.
That's not a lot.
20 minutes a day, 3 hours a week, 1
week.
week in a year.
That's phenomenal.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's great, Monica.
That's a great way to end.
Solve all the world's problems.
I love it. I love it. That is a great way to end answering this question. Again, like with the other segment, if you have a question that you would like for us to tackle, you can send us that question, DM us that question, or you can email us that question to this email that is on your screen. That is awesome. The 3% rule. We hope that you take. So we told them in the beginning to take notes. We knew it was going to be opportunity to take notes. So if you didn't get that down, you're going to have to wait till the episode is done and go back. Or if you're watching the replay, go back right now.
Yeah.
Because
So
that is gold.
So
That
good.
is gold. And that's a phenomenal segue into this segment that we're going into called the Marriage Minute, which is the reason that Monica is here to share with us. Monica is, I'm going to let her introduce herself, but let's get into the segment and then we'll go from there. Here we go. So those of you who've been watching, you see that we have the wonderful Monica Tanner with us, certified relationship coach, marriage and intimacy expert, podcaster, phenomenal podcast.
Great
If you're
podcast.
not, we're going to get all that from you so people can go and follow and listen to the podcast. We had the pleasure of being guests on that podcast as well a while back.
Time to have you back.
Oh man, we would be honored. We
to.
would be honored. We would be honored. But listen, before we get into the conversation with you, Monica, just tell a little bit just about who you are, what you're passionate about, how you serve the world.
Yeah. So I just celebrated my 23rd wedding anniversary on the same day that my oldest son got married. So that was like such a cool day.
Good stuff.
And then
Did they choose that date on purpose?
I think they just picked like the most like logical Saturday, and it just happens to be the same date that my husband and I got married 23 years ago. So
that's awesome.
It works out great. It'll be easy for everyone to remember.
Yeah.
We have 4 children. Yeah. Oh, thank you. We have 4 children, and they're all like doing great things. We're halfway. I feel like we're halfway done with the like raising them in our homes phase, because 2 of them have now gone on, and it's just like a little family. It feels like a little family of 4 now. So it's just so weird. It's very quiet in our house. It's only been about a month. My daughter graduated last month. So very cool. And they are together. They are selling solar for the summer in Minnesota. So if you're in Minnesota, if somebody knocks on your door, you should answer it.
Help them out.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, yeah, that's about me. I spend my time when I'm not with my family. I am coaching couples, and it is the joy of my life. I am trained as an RLT practitioner, which stands for Relational Life Therapy, which is a modality just created by Terrence Real, and I've been coaching couples for about 6 years, and I've been doing RLT for 2. And it just revolutionized the way that I work with couples, mainly because it's a therapeutic modality that helps couples on the brink of divorce that nobody else has been able to help. And it creates lasting change quickly. Like, it's amazing how quickly you see these people change once you point out to them the dynamic of their marriage. So, I was coaching before, and I was like, okay at it. And now with these tools, I feel like, I really have the ability to help couples who are really hurting. So it's been really fun to add that to my repertoire. And then I just finished my first book, which I wrote it for my son who was getting married. But I made this joke at his wedding. Incidentally, he was not engaged long enough for me to get it fully published. So it comes out in August. But I did write it for him and his wife, and it's called Bad Marriage Advice.
Bad marriage advice. All right. So we're going to have to look out for that, and maybe even get you back in August.
So we can talk about it.
Because we want a physical copy that we can hold up in August and talk about. But that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We'll talk about how in a little while how people can get a hold of you, because that is awesome for those that are in crisis and feel like there is no way out and we are at the end. You need somebody like Monica in your life to be able to bring about the transformation that you desire. So
I just want to touch a little bit on the book, Bad Marriage Advice. So is it basically what it sounds like?
Well, basically, when he told us he wanted to get married, and he's very young, mind you, he and his wife are both 21. And so I thought, oh man, you are embarking on this great adventure, and you're so young, and people are going to want to give you advice. Just like when my husband and I got married, people gave us so much advice, and some of it was good and some of it was very bad. And so I sat down to write him this little note, and it turned into this book. And what I basically did was I picked out 15 pieces of really bad marriage advice that either was given to my husband and I, or I've seen my couples that are just like really strongly connected to this advice that's making them miserable.
Mhm.
And I talk about what to do instead, or the skills that will help you kind of unravel the bad marriage advice. And you guys chose the title for this episode, but the last chapter is basically the idea that happily ever after doesn't exist. So we should lower our standards and we should just, take what we can get or whatever. And I think a lot of people settle for a mediocre marriage when happily ever after absolutely does exist. It just has to be.
Wow.
So
That means
I
this was
love
meant to
it.
be,
This was
because
meant
we
to
didn't know that.
be.
We didn't know that. And for those who are wondering why we're marveling, if you didn't see the
Wow.
graphic for the show, the title of the show is Happily Ever After Possible? So
and my answer would be a resounding yes.
Yes.
And if you don't believe that, you're not going to aim for it, and
That's
therefore
right.
you won't achieve it. So
That's
we
right.
need to break that idea. It is absolutely possible. It just has to be intentional. It's not going to happen by accident for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be based on we love each other. It's
Right.
based on a lot more than that.
So
good.
that's a good segue into a question that I actually had for you, right? So without giving away too much in the book, right? What are some of the common myths about marriage?
So much. Well, I mean, there's all those cliches that you hear, like don't go to bed angry,
Mhm.
don't sweat the small stuff, learn how to compromise, happy wife, happy life. Ooh, I hate that one.
I hate it too.
Don't ever say the D word. There's all of those. They're very cliche, and I know they're well-meaning. Like I don't believe anyone's like trying to give bad marriage advice. It's just advice that's been handed down generation to generation. And in today's modern marriage, we have so many resources and options. There's no reason to settle for some of that just really outdated bad advice.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good.
That's a good one, because often, like you said, we are often, you've seen couples like this, and we have as well. You're often so heavily invested in that advice, even though you see the whole world crashing around you, you just will not let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
I
you're
would
so
tell you
invested.
that the first 5 years of my marriage, I lost so much sleep because a couple that I thought was just amazing was like, don't ever go to bed
Go to
angry.
bed
Make sure
angry.
you work it out before you go to bed.
Mm.
And I just remember my husband and I would get in fights because we were both tired, because we both needed some sleep, right? And
Yeah.
so, but he would just roll over and go to bed, and I would be like shaking and crying and sobbing and like
Wow.
rousing him awake, like we've got to talk about this, like they told us not to go to bed angry, right?
Wow.
And I
Yeah.
lost a lot of sleep, and now I'm like, okay, dude, we're both just grumpy, let's go to bed. And I tell you what, my husband apologizes in the morning like no, like I can count on it now. Like I know if I just roll over and go to sleep, he's going to apologize whether it was his fault or not in the morning, and then I can talk about whatever it is. Clearly, we can come up with solutions in the morning that we would never think of when we're both exhausted and just
That you got some sleep. Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think a lot of people say that because it's biblical. It
That's the
says that. But
scripture.
I
Don't
think
let the
that
sun go down.
yeah, but I think that it's taken out of context.
Yeah, it's weaponized.
It's weaponized and it's taken out of context. And I don't think that it literally means I am so mad at you right now.
We're gonna be up all night.
I am tired as all get out, but we're gonna work this thing out. We're
It's
gonna
about to be
talk
an
about
all-nighter.
it. Yeah, it doesn't mean that. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
God is not that type of God.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When we need the sleep to actually function
To
correctly.
think right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So in your practice with couples, what are some of the, and I probably should have saved this for last, but I'm skipping around. What are some of the, you talked about the 3% rule. And for those of you, if you missed that, you got to go back and hear what the 3% rule is. What are some other intentional daily practices that you suggest?
Yeah, so good. Well, I absolutely think that saying I love you every day, having rituals of connection, like when when somebody leaves or somebody comes home, those things are so important. And I think we just forget that, we get busy in our lives. There's so much going on.
Mhm.
And so we just forget to be intentional about making our partner the most important thing. And so I like to give people advice, like put each other on your to-do list, right? Like the things on your to-do list, the things in your calendar, they get done. Like if you need to
Yep.
go to a dentist appointment, it gets put in the calendar and you don't miss those appointments or client meetings or whatever. So
Yep.
date night should be in the calendar, just like any other really important appointment. And if you have an intention of getting 10 things done during the day, a lot of times for me, if it's not on my to-do list, it's not that important. And so it's probably not going to get done. But if I, think that my partner needs to go on my to-do list every single day. So I've got, the things I need to do for my business, the things I need to do for my clients, and the things I need to do for my husband and my kids on my to-do list, then I'll check it off and get it done. Or if you put a reminder in your phone, like send my husband a text and ask about that big meeting he had or whatever, right? Like you have to be intentional, but it doesn't have to be hard.
Right. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Intentional, keyword.
I think too that when we think intentional, sometimes we do think hard and we think that
Or mechanical.
mechanical. And we think that sending a text or putting a note in your phone to send a text is not quote unquote good enough, not big enough. That's just, but that's often all it takes.
It's just a little
It's
touch
just a
point.
little touch point. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. And that's freeing for somebody, right? That
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be grandiose, right? You're actually connecting dots, right? And the dots don't have to be huge. They just have to connect.
Yeah.
Which
Totally.
means you need to do more than one,
Yeah.
right? Which means you need to have some level of intention, which
Yeah.
I love. And starting somewhere.
Mhm.
Right.
We see
Something is better than nothing. I'll tell
Right.
you, like the one thing I never ever forget to do is when I go to the grocery store, my husband loves bananas. Like we tease him. He's like a monkey, right? Like his solution for everything. If you don't feel good, eat a banana. Like you got a sports game, eat a banana. Like he
I love it.
needs his bananas, right? And so over the last 23 years, I've just learned I don't go to the store without getting bananas. Like if we're running low on bananas, it's time to go to the store. Like I just do that for him because I love him. It's such a small thing. Bananas are so cheap. And that's one of the reasons why he loves them so much, right?
Yeah.
But I just make sure we are always stocked with bananas. And that is just a little way that I say, look, I see you, I know you, I love you, and it is worth it for me to go just a little bit out of my way, to stop on my way home to get bananas so we don't run out.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
Start somewhere, be
See your
intentional,
spouse.
see your spouse,
See your
right?
spouse. Those
Little things that you
things.
observe, man, he likes bananas or she likes this or he appreciates that or she appreciates that, and just incorporating that into your daily routine. You know what's interesting about that? For some reason, at times it seems very almost like, what's the word? It's almost like this new light, this phenomenal revelation, but we do it in every other area of our lives, though.
That's true. Yeah.
We know how to be intentional. We know how to be innovative.
Yeah.
We know how to initiate. We know how to solve problems and step up to the plate and communicate in our jobs or resolve conflict or be on a team.
Right.
And then for some reason, when we come in the front door of our houses, like to hear Monica say that is like,
Yeah.
why is it mind blowing then?
Right.
I don't, do you ever do you have something for why that is the case? Why do we make that disconnect between our home life and these tools that we actually use outside?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is like a global disconnect when it comes to relational skills. Like a lot of times I hear myself teaching a relational skill and I think, yeah, this works in your marriage, but this also works in your workplace or,
Mhm.
in your neighborhood or your community, things like that. If people were more relational, we wouldn't have such a disconnected kind of lonely world. So
Yeah.
I do think we need to teach more relational skills.
Mhm.
But I just think we get so familiar. Like I think about my teenagers, especially my teenage girls. And, people will tell me, oh, you have the best girls. They're so sweet. They are hardworking and they behave so well and they're just really kind. And I think, are you talking about my daughter? Like the one who comes in my house and starts screaming at everybody and throwing a tantrum and throwing things around. And I think, well, okay, so she has to be on her best behavior out there in the world because the world is kind of harsh, right? But she comes home and she's like, I know I'm loved here. I can kind of let my guard down. And
Mhm.
if I need to have a tantrum, it's better to have it at home than anywhere else, right? And so I do think that comes into play a little bit too,
Mhm.
is we just kind of
Yeah.
think our spouse is always going to be there, and they said
Yeah.
that they would love me no matter what, in good times and in bad. So I'm just gonna not worry about the good and just
Yeah.
let out the bad.
Yeah.
So I think there is a little bit of that in our homes that we
Mhm.
can have a little bit of grace for and compassion for. That like my husband's been at work for 10 hours today and he gets home and I think, well, if you just want to be grumpy or put your feet up or whatever, that's okay. Like I can give you some time for that.
Yeah.
Um, but that doesn't always have to be the case. I think just learning relational skills is really important and it will help us in our families, but it will also help us outside.
Absolutely. I love that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
Mm-hmm.
you have a question that actually kind of ties into that, I think.
Yeah. So I was just gonna ask, like, what would you say to the couple that needs to create emotional safety, especially when the trust has been broken? Like, how
Mhm.
would you build up that emotional safety? How would a spouse or a couple do that?
Yeah, well, I think when trust has been broken, I do think you need some help. I
Mm,
mean, go to somebody who can help you through that because that's usually very difficult.
yeah.
But for the most part, I think if you live by a couple of just important rules, which the first rule that I usually teach is called remembering love. And this is a very important tenet of relational life therapy. And it has two parts. Remembering love is remembering who you're talking to, that it's the person that you love and you live with. And the second part is remembering that you're talking because you want to make things better.
Mm,
And if you think about your relationship as your ecologically, it's not necessarily that you're doing it like it can be a little bit more selfish. Like for example, like people will say like, why do I have to go first? Why do I have to learn these things, right?
mhm.
And it's because you live inside that relationship. And so if it's toxic, it's not only toxic for your spouse, it's toxic for you. It's
Yeah.
the same reason that if you walked outside your house and there was trash all over your front yard, you would pick it up even if you didn't put it there
Mhm.
Yes.
because it's your house and you want it to look
Yep.
nice and you don't want there to be trash in the yard. So you're going to probably grumble, but you're going to pick it up. It's
Yeah.
the same with your relationship. Maybe you didn't start it. Maybe you're not the one who needs all the relational skills,
Mm,
but you should learn them because that's your relational environment and you
yeah.
want to make it better. And then the other thing I would say is this is so important. I think it's so easy to be critical and just say whatever you're thinking, especially I think with the environment of online and just being able to people do some really crazy weird stuff and everybody just kind of says what they think now. And so I
Mhm.
think when it comes to your marriage and your relationships, especially your marriage, but also with your children, with your in-laws, with the rest of your family, it's important. I live by this principle of wait. Why am I talking? And if you can't answer that question, don't say whatever it is that you're going to say. Wait until
Mm,
you can actually say something productive.
Mm.
Think about the effect that your words are going to have on the person it lands on, right? Like if you're about to say something critical or something harsh or mean, like just wait until there's a purpose for what you're saying and then say it.
Yeah.
That's good.
So good.
That's good. That's an acronym that we all need to incorporate.
Why am I
into
talking?
our daily lives? Wait.
And the answer should be to make things better for both of us.
Yeah.
For both of us.
For both of us.
That's the key, because a lot of times people are talking and pointing the finger because they want to benefit themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good. I love
That's
it.
great. Listen, so we could really keep you here forever.
I was just about to say I could talk to Monica all day.
We're definitely gonna have you back for when the book comes out. We might have to have you back again another time as well.
Hey, anytime, you guys.
Yeah, because there's so much that that we can talk about. But before we get into how people can connect with you, what is if there was one thing that somebody had to take away from this experience today? I mean, you gave a whole lot of stuff, but if there was one thing, what would that one thing be that you would say to the couples listening?
I think that I would just really want to just drive home. There is no better place to invest your time, energy, or financial resources than into that primary romantic relationship. It is what is going to last the longest, right? Your kids are going to grow up and leave you, and hopefully they're going to find their own person to create a life with. And so you want to give them a really good relational template to follow. I always say, as parents, we're going to make lots of mistakes. And I'm sure that our kids are going to blame us for all of their problems, right? But if we've given them a really healthy, thriving relational template to follow, then they're going to find their own relationship and they're going to be able to heal within that loving relationship if that's what we've shown them. So you can get a lot of things wrong, but if you get that marriage, that relationship right, you are giving them the very best gift.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Listen, how can individuals? So again, Monica is certified coach. She is intimacy expert. You heard what she does. Phenomenal modality that she uses for couples who may be even on the brink.
Say it again. Relational
life therapy.
Relational life therapy. An incredible podcast, which incredible information, phenomenal guests. How can individuals who want to connect with you to learn more about you and or are you accepting clients?
Thank you so much. Yes, I am.
Okay. How can individuals get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can learn about my podcast, Secrets of Happily Ever After, or how to work with me and other free resources that I offer at my website, which is my name, monicatanner.com. You are so awesome. And then you can find out about the book. You can get on the wait list for when it comes out and also get a free gift at badmarriageadvice.com. And that free gift that I give you when you jump on that waiting list is 300 date night ideas. And so those ideas are everything from, that's right. Everything from all four seasons, ideas for all four seasons, all levels of adventure, free, cheap, expensive date nights, whatever your taste is. All the time I hear, oh, it's like we can't think of date night ideas. And I love to think of date night ideas. So I'm giving you a download that literally, if you did one a week, it would last you 6 years.
Wow.
So I'm about to go get that myself. I'm getting that myself.
Wow,
it's worth
great.
I need 6 years worth of date nights.
I'll have you doing all kinds of crazy things. Jumping. I mean, you might not want to do all of them, but
I love it.
That's good stuff, man. So make sure that let me put this up there again. Make sure that you are going to Monica's website, monicatanner.com. Make sure you find out everything there. Listen to the podcast, subscribe, rate, and comment on the podcast. so that
find your guys' episode, because that's a good one, but we'll update it soon.
Okay, that'll work. That'll work. And definitely go to badmarriageadvice.com. Get on the wait list for the upcoming book. That is awesome. Monica, thank you for your time.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
We appreciate you. Thank you for being here with us. You can hang out with us for for us to wrap up the show with the last word, and then stick around when the show wraps just for 60 seconds so we can thank you again. But thank you so much for this time and for the incredible gems that you have given us today. Appreciate you. Listen, guys, you're gonna have to go back and watch this one. You're gonna have to put this in your playlist, take notes, and you're gonna walk away with some things today. What I love about this episode is that you're gonna walk away with some things that you can literally start doing today.
Yeah.
You don't have any excuse. Today, the 20-minute thing you can do literally right after this episode ends.
Yeah.
So you have gotten some practical advice that will be so beneficial to the trajectory of your marital experience. That is awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here, but not without the last word. Let's do that. So the last word for today is prioritize.
Prioritize.
Okay. Now, obviously, we're talking about prioritizing as it relates to your marriage, which is really apropos because we started this show with a media mixdown that was talking about prioritizing your children over your spouse. You have to intentionally prioritize. Let me say it this way. The first thing you got to really be honest with yourself about is this. Is your marriage that important to you? Is this relationship, like Monica said earlier, this is the thing that's going to last the longest?
Yeah.
Your kids are going to be gone. You're going to get older. Careers are going to come and go. Things are going to happen. Your mate's going to be there. Is this relationship that important to you?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, it needs to be prioritized as such.
Yeah.
Monica talked about earlier putting things on your calendar, right? If a client meeting, if a business meeting, if a basketball game is important to you, it's going to end up on the calendar, right? So if this marriage and marital experience is that important to you, prioritize.
And putting it on your calendar. That's prioritizing.
That's a way to do it.
That's a way to do it.
That's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Prioritize. And before you prioritize, come to grips with whether it is that important to you. Because I mean, that is a necessary identification that has to take place.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to sacrifice. Yeah. You don't want to sacrifice the most important things for the things that are the most oh my goodness, what's the word? Something that feels important at the time, right?
Right. And we do that often, right?
Yeah.
We do that often.
Right. You don't want to sacrifice the things that are most important for the things that feel urgent.
Yeah.
So that's the last word, ladies and gentlemen. And I was going to say, I hope, but I don't even need to say those two words. I know that you gained a great level of value from this episode and Monica Tanner's presence here. Again, thank you for that. Thank you all who are watching now or who are watching the replay. Again, be sure to share this episode. What we didn't talk about earlier, and I'll shoot this in real quick. Those of you who may be new to us, we are authors, speakers, and coaches in the relationship space as well, and in the men's space. I'm an author of the book, Overcoming the Man Laws, for the man who wants to be his best, despite what he was taught. And you can pick that up on our website, denali.org/shop, or you can go to Amazon and grab that as well. We also have a couples journal for you over there. Have a conversation. Anybody who knows us has heard us say those 3 words a million times. Have a conversation. Have a conversation. This journal is a catalyst for that level of conversation that we encourage you to have. You can pick that up on Amazon as well. Also, for those of you who follow us, you know, on Saturday nights, we do a Saturday night late night show called Have a Conversation After Dark. Man, Listen,
It's after dark for a reason.
you just got to go. You just got to go check out the episodes. You got to check out the episodes. Great conversations, with our goal being to spark conversation between you and your mate. All right.
Yeah.
So listen, we're going to get out of here. Thank you all for being the best part of this. Thank you to Monica Tanner again. Monica, blessings on you and all that you do and all that you put your hands to. Happy anniversary. Congratulations to your son. It was your son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations to your son and his bride, and to your daughter graduating. Man, this has just been a blessing season for you. I love it. I love it. I love it. Good stuff, man. So we're going to get out of here, folks. Thank you. You all take care. Have a phenomenal rest of your Thursday, a great weekend, and we will see you next week for another episode of Inside the Relationship.
Bye, everybody.
Later.